HBO's Bill Maher took to his November 4th real-time show to slam Christian evangelicals for supporting Donald Trump.
He exposed evangelicals, who are big Trump supporters, as the shameless hypocrites they've always been. I don't know if you noticed, but Republicans didn't get to play the Jesus card this time around because it's hard to bring up the 10 Commandments when your candidate spent his life breaking all of them. Trump's commandments are like the regular commandments with LOL at the end.
Maher would spend most of the segment crudely listing commandments and directives Trump has broken, as well as pointing out his poor command of chapter and verse.
Because I hear this is a major theme right here, but 2 Corinthians, right? 2 Corinthians 3:17, that's the whole ballgame.
At face value, it's silly to expect or assume that blue-haired church ladies at any point seriously viewed Trump as the next Thomas Aquinas, and many others likely never saw him as a paragon of Christian morality and family values in the first place. Many evangelicals, with whom I as an atheist almost certainly agree on very little, probably see him similarly as I do, riddled with flaws, yet nonetheless a bulwark against much worse that is praised and mollycoddled even to suicidal ends by mindless, preening, NIMBY multiculturalists of the progressive left who are more interested in broadcasting their own self-appointed moral supremacy than doing anything to benefit the people they claim to represent. Refined Right managing editor and devout Christian Autumn Price says she thinks Maher's way off, that he conflates different viewpoints within the faith to make his point. She also says his criticism of evangelicals for their choice in Trump is hypocritical, especially considering the moral, legal, and political baggage Clinton supporters have to contend with in their candidate. Maher pounds evangelicals based on his legalistic interpretation of their decision to vote for Trump, but the reality is much more complicated. I've not shied away from possibly contradictory passages in Scripture in my criticism of Christianity, but clearly being an evangelical isn't as simple as crudely checking off blocks on a list.
He is the world's least godly man. Jesus saw the good in whores and lepers, but if he met Donald Trump, he'd go, "Sorry, man, that's a pre-existing condition."
Price, of course, doesn't agree. Trump could, with great creative license, be considered maybe even a Christ-like figure to the disaffected political dissidents of all stripes outside of the progressive left, the working stiffs who are the whores and lepers, so to speak, discarded by a broken economy and abandoned to drown in permanent economic precarity, with little to lose and nothing to look forward to. The ones denounced and abandoned by the media and political establishments as deplorable, vacuously and reflexively smeared as racist, sexist, bigots, homophobes, and whatnot.
You could put half of Trump supporters into what I call the basket of deplorables. The racist, sexist, homophobic, xenophobic, Islamophobic, you name it.
It also might be possible to have fun with Trump supporters at places like Reddit's The Donald, one of the major hubs of his supporters online, but still not particularly love voting for him. The reasons people vote for Trump are as numerous, varied, and complicated as his obvious flaws. It's easy to dump on evangelicals for making what many might sympathize with as a painful calculation, calling them evil and gullible for making what they felt was the right choice despite any misgivings about the entire slate of candidates before them, their candidate of choice included. It's easy to dismiss them as hypocrites for not crudely checking off blocks on a list of commandments before they cast their ballot. I've long criticized evangelicals for a number of reasons, almost certainly as crudely as Maher did November 4th. But as he and Sam Harris pointed out in the infamous gross and racist exchange with Ben Affleck, there's a difference between criticizing ideas and attacking people.
So the other thing we want to talk about, of course, is that you and I have been trying to make the case, I think, I have anyway, that liberals need to stand up for liberal principles. This is what I said on last week's show. Obviously, I got a lot of hate for it, but all I'm saying is that liberal principles like freedom of speech, freedom to practice any religion you want without fear of violence, freedom to leave a religion, equality for women, equality for minorities, including homosexuals. These are liberal principles that liberals applaud for, but then when you say in the Muslim world this is what's lacking, then they get upset.
Yeah. Well, liberals have really failed on the topic of theocracy. They'll criticize white theocracy. They'll criticize Christians. They'll still get agitated over the abortion clinic bombing that happened in 1984. But when you want to talk about the treatment of women and homosexuals and free thinkers and public intellectuals in the Muslim world, I would argue that liberals have failed us. And the crucial point of confusion, thank you.
Thank God you're here.
Yeah. Well, I mean, the crucial point of confusion is that we have been sold this meme of Islamophobia, where every criticism of the doctrine of Islam gets conflated with bigotry toward Muslims as people.
Right.
And that is it's intellectually ridiculous. Even it gets
So hold on,
conflated
are
with
you
racism.
the person who understands the officially codified doctrine of Islam? You're the interpreter of that, so you can say, well, this is...
I'm actually well educated on this topic.
I'm asking you. So you're saying if I criticize you're saying that Islamophobia is not a real thing. That if you're critical of something...
Well, it's not a real thing when we do it.
Right.
No,
It really isn't.
I'm not denying that certain people are bigoted against Muslims as people.
Right.
And that's a problem.
Big of you.
But
why are you so hostile about
Because
this
it's
concept?
gross. It's racist.
It's not. But it's so not.
It's like saying
It's
those
so not.
stateless, shifty Jew.
You're not listening
Absolutely
to
not.
what we are saying.
You guys...
I'll continue to criticize evangelicals and Christianity where I see it fit and necessary, but bashing and smearing evangelicals personally for voting as they do for the reasons that they do isn't going to shame them out of their decision, and may have the opposite effect of confirming to them that they are beset on all sides by forces more hostile to their faith than anything Trump has ever said on a secretly recorded tape. When members of the progressive left openly praise or advocate for violence against political opponents or secretly trains agitators to incite it, it's really not difficult to work out why.